Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The Friday evening air carried the smell of barbecue smoke from the neighbor's backyard, laughter spilling across the fences. Inside a neatly kept suburban house, Michael Carter sat at the dining table, scrolling through photos on his phone that he wished he hadn't seen. His wife, Lindsay, had posted them just an hour earlier. Wine glasses raised high, arms looped around her girlfriends, a glittering caption beneath. Sisterhood first, always. Marriage is just paper. Michael's chest tightened. He stared at the words until they blurred. Paper. That's what their vows meant to her. 10 years of sacrifices, long workdays at the construction firm, skipped vacations, saving every dollar to pay off their mortgage, all reduced to paper. When Lindsay breezed through the front door later that night, her perfume hit him before her laughter did. She kicked off her heels carelessly, tossing her purse on the couch. "Don't wait up next time," she said lightly, brushing past him. "Girls' nights are non-negotiable. They keep me alive." Michael looked at her, the words rising in his throat, but he swallowed them back. He had learned that arguing with her, when she was tipsy, only led to crueler jabs. Instead, he observed quietly her glittery dress, the smudge of lipstick that wasn't quite her shade, the faint trace of cologne that wasn't his. His stomach turned, but he masked it with silence. Their routines had become predictable. He woke early, made coffee, packed lunches, headed to the job site. She rolled out of bed at 10, posted gym selfies, scrolled on her phone, and made brunch plans with friends. He returned home covered in dust. She left the house polished like she was walking into a photo shoot. They rarely ate together anymore. For weeks, he had ignored the nagging suspicion, brushed off late-night phone calls, shrugged at unanswered texts, believed her excuses about losing track of time. But the lipstick shade was new, and the cologne, it was undeniable. That night, as she slept soundly beside him, Michael lay awake staring at the ceiling fan. The marriage was no longer alive. It was a stage play, and he was the silent actor left on set after the lights had gone dark. He made his decision before dawn. Not to shout, not to beg, not even to fight. His revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be meticulous, the kind of silence that speaks louder than any confrontation. As the sun broke over the rooftops, he opened their dresser and pulled out his belongings. Neatly folded shirts, the watch his father left him, his work boots. With each item packed into the duffel bag, he felt his chest lighten. He left the rest untouched, almost too carefully arranged, as though nothing had been disturbed. Before leaving, he slipped a folded note into the top drawer of her vanity, the one where she kept her favorite jewelry and expensive perfumes. He didn't need to write much, just enough to let her know that when she returned, her carefully constructed illusion of control would collapse. Then, without a sound, Michael walked out of the house, the cool morning air greeting him like an old friend. Michael didn't slam the door. He didn't leave angry scratches on the floor or broken glass on the counter. He left quietly, because quiet meant power. Quiet meant Lindsay wouldn't even realize what she'd lost until the absence wrapped itself around her like cold air. He drove across town to his brother Aaron's house, duffel bag in the trunk. Aaron raised an eyebrow when he opened the door at 6 in the morning. "Didn't think I'd see you this early," Aaron said, scratching his jaw. Michael stepped in, voice calm but heavy. "Got space for me a while?" Aaron didn't press with questions. They'd grown up in the kind of family where silence was respected more than small talk. He nodded and gestured toward the guest room. As Michael unpacked, he replayed the last few years in his head. The moments when Lindsay had laughed at his boring life, the way she rolled her eyes when he suggested quiet weekends together, the times she'd said, "Why don't you try harder to be fun, Michael? My friend husband spoiled them. You just work and save." He had thought he was building a future. She thought he was holding her back from glitter and spotlight. But the real sting wasn't in her words. It was in what she hid. A week before leaving, Michael had found messages on her tablet. Flirty banter with a man named Derek, someone she claimed was just a colleague from her fitness studio. Michael had read them all. The late night, "You looked amazing tonight," the heart emojis, the thinly veiled jokes about your husband probably doesn't notice what you're wearing. Michael didn't explode. He didn't even confront her. He let her think she was clever. because the quiet revenge forming in his head required patience. Meanwhile, Lindsay woke the next morning to an eerily still house. No coffee aroma drifting from the kitchen. No sound of the shower running. She stretched lazily, glancing at the clock. It was nearly 10. "Michael," she called half-heartedly, assuming he'd left for work early. She padded toward the dresser to grab her necklace, yawning. When she slid the drawer open, the folded note stared back at her. Her brow furrowed, irritation flashing across her face. Unfolding it, she read Michael's handwriting. "By the time you see this, I'll already be gone. You said nights out matter more than us, so let your friends help you with what comes next." "I won't." Her stomach dropped. She darted to the closet, half his clothes gone. She rushed to the garage, his truck missing. For a moment, she laughed nervously, whispering to herself, "He's bluffing. He'll come back. He always does." But by midday, the silence pressed harder. His phone went straight to voicemail. His work contacts had no clue where he was. By evening, the pit in her chest turned to panic. That night, she tried to distract herself at a friend's gathering, sipping cocktails, forcing laughter. But her mind kept circling back to the empty side of the bed, the note, the eerie calm in Michael's words. For Michael, the next weeks were strangely liberating. He threw himself into work, but not the endless grind Lindsay had always mocked him for. Instead, he took overtime jobs with intention. Every dollar saved was fuel for his plan. At Aaron's urging, Michael also met with a lawyer, Susan Miller, sharp, confident, and quick to see through the situation. "Michael, if she's been using your income while treating the marriage like decoration, you've got leverage. We'll freeze the joint accounts, redirect your paychecks, and let her experience independence the way she claims to want it." Michael smirked for the first time in weeks. "Exactly what I was thinking." Within days, Lindsay's world began unraveling. She swiped her card at a boutique, declined. Tried to order a weekend spa package. Payment failed. Even her rent for the yoga studio she co-owned bounced back. Her friends, who once adored her flamboyant personality, started to distance themselves. Nobody wanted to pick up the tab every time. And Derek, the colleague, who filled her inbox with flirty emojis, he ghosted her the moment her finances dried up. One evening, Michael sat with Aaron on the porch, beer bottles clinking against the wooden railing. "She's been calling me nonstop," Michael said flatly. Dozens of voicemails, half of them begging, half of them furious. Aaron raised an eyebrow. "You gonna answer?" Michael shook his head slowly. "Not yet. Let her feel what silence tastes like." But inside, he wasn't just aiming to punish. He wanted her to confront the emptiness she'd chosen. To understand what loyalty had meant all those years when he was hauling bricks in the sun, coming home covered in sweat, only to hear her say, "Is that all you're good for?" Now, for once, she'd know exactly what life was like without his steady presence. By the third week, Lindsay's desperation reached a breaking point. She showed up at Aaron's house, makeup smeared, voice trembling. "Michael, please," she begged at the door, catching sight of him behind Aaron. "We can fix this. I didn't mean what I said. I was drunk, careless. It didn't mean anything." Michael studied her, her once flawless confidence now cracked. He noticed the trembling hands, the nervous dart of her eyes, the faint bitterness in her tone. He stepped forward slowly, his voice calm but sharp enough to slice. "You said marriage was just paper. Well, the paper's shredded now. You said your girls' nights kept you alive. Let them pay your bills then." Her lips parted, eyes wide. She reached out instinctively, but Michael stepped back. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was final, the sound of a man who had discovered his worth and no longer bargained it away. Lindsay stood on the porch like someone stripped of her armor. Her hair was disheveled, her voice cracked with exhaustion, but Michael didn't flinch. Aaron leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, protective but silent, giving Michael full control. "Michael, don't do this," Lindsay pleaded, her words tumbling out. "I made mistakes, but I was lonely. You worked all the time. I just wanted attention." Michael's jaw tightened. "So your solution was to give that attention away to strangers?" His voice carried no anger, only weight. "I worked those hours so we could have a future. And while I was breaking my back, you were breaking vows." Her eyes filled with tears, but Michael had seen this performance before, the dramatics she used whenever she wanted something. This time, though, it wasn't going to soften him. Aaron cleared his throat and walked back inside, giving them space. Michael stepped down from a porch. Lindsay, for years I thought maybe I wasn't enough. That if I just worked harder, smiled more, ignored the late nights, you'd finally see me. But you didn't want me. You wanted the freedom to play wife when convenient, and single when it entertained you. Her face crumbled. I never meant to lose you. Michael's eyes stayed steady. You didn't lose me, Lindsay. You gave me away. The following weeks painted a cruel contrast. Michael's life began to stabilize. With Aaron's encouragement, he joined a weekend hiking group, something he'd always wanted to do, but Lindsay had mocked as boring. He discovered that people actually enjoyed his calm, grounded energy. He found himself laughing more, eating meals without tension, even sleeping peacefully for the first time in years. At work, his colleagues noticed the change. He wasn't dragging himself home with the weight of someone else's disappointment on his shoulders. He started accepting leadership opportunities. One of his supervisors even told him, "Mike, you've got the reliability of 3 men. We could use more guys like you." Meanwhile, Lindsay's world collapsed in slow motion. Her boutique membership at the gym was canceled due to missed payments. Friends who once adored her stopped answering her calls, especially after she tried borrowing money from 3 of them. She reached out to Derek, but his number was disconnected. And when she tried booking a table at her favorite rooftop lounge, she realized status didn't mean much when her card was useless. Her social media, once a parade of glamorous selfies, became eerily silent. She scrolled through old posts, each one now mocking her with memories of confidence that had vanished. One night, she sat in her car outside Michael's workplace, watching him leave. He didn't look broken. He looked free. He was chatting with a coworker, smiling genuinely, his posture lighter. She gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles whitened. A month after their confrontation at Aaron's porch, Lindsay tried one final approach. She requested a meeting through Susan, the lawyer Michael had hired. They met in a neutral office space downtown. Lindsay wore a plain blouse, a far cry from her usual dazzling outfits. Michael arrived in his work jacket, calm and unreadable. She spoke first, her voice trembling. "Michael, I know I failed you. I know I treated you like you were a safety net instead of a partner. But can we try again?" Michael leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "What exactly are you asking for, Lindsay? Love? Or a lifeline?" She blinked, caught off guard. "I'm asking for forgiveness." His gaze didn't waver. "Forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the fire that burned me." She opened her mouth, but he continued. "Do you know what freedom feels like, Lindsay? It's not the parties or the cocktails or the late nights you bragged about. Freedom is peace. Waking up without checking if your spouse is lying to you. Coming home to quiet instead of chaos. That's what I have now, and I won't trade it back." Her lips quivered, but no words came out. Susan cleared her throat, sliding a stack of papers across the table. "Lindsay, this is the final settlement. Michael's already signed. You'll find the terms clear." Lindsay stared at the papers, realizing the man she had underestimated for years had not only walked away. He had walked away stronger, leaving her to face the echo of her own choices. That evening, Michael sat on Aaron's porch again, the summer air buzzing with crickets. He held the signed copies in his hand, then placed them aside. Aaron handed him a cold drink. "So it's official." Michael nodded. "It's official." Aaron smirked faintly. "You look lighter." Michael exhaled, almost a laugh. "I am. For once, I didn't explode. I didn't fight dirty. I let her drown in the silence she created." That was the loudest answer she could ever get. And for the first time in years, Michael realized revenge didn't have to roar. Sometimes the most devastating revenge was simply letting go and living well. Michael didn't celebrate with fireworks or loud declarations when the divorce became final. He didn't need to. His revenge had already been written in the silence of his departure, in the way he reclaimed his peace while Lindsay's carefully built facade fell apart piece by piece. Yet closure wasn't immediate. One evening, weeks later, Michael drove past their old house. The lawn was overgrown, weeds pushing through cracks in the driveway. The once spotless windows were smeared with dust. For years, he had been the one trimming, fixing, and painting while Lindsay scoffed that chores are for men with no ambition. Now the house reflected her neglect, an empty shell that mirrored her life. Michael parked across the street, watching from a distance. Through the window, He saw her pacing the living room with a phone pressed to her ear. Her voice was sharp, desperate. He could almost hear the tension, even without the sound. A few moments later, she threw the phone on the couch and sank into it, burying her face in her hands. It was a strange sight. This was the woman who once flaunted designer dresses and glittering selfies. The woman who told him that paper vows meant nothing. Now, she looked small, caged by her own choices. Michael didn't feel triumph. What he felt was confirmation, that walking away had been the only way to win. Meanwhile, his own life was gaining momentum. He accepted a promotion at work that came with a better salary and leadership responsibilities. His co-workers respected him for his calm authority, and the younger ones sought his advice. Michael no longer felt like the man who came home to ridicule. He felt like someone valued for exactly who he was. Aaron pushed him to join weekend barbecues and social gatherings, and slowly, Michael learned how to laugh again without caution. One Saturday, he found himself talking to Claire, a neighbor of Aaron's, warm, kind-eyed, and someone who actually listened when he spoke. They shared stories about hiking trails, her favorite recipes, his plans to maybe start his own business someday. There was no rush, no hidden agenda, no performance. Just two people exchanging moments honestly. For the first time in a decade, Michael realized love wasn't supposed to be a battlefield. It could be simple, even quiet. Lindsay's spiral, on the other hand, deepened. She tried rekindling friendships, but people had grown tired of her endless drama. She applied for part-time jobs, but lacked the patience for stability. Bills piled up, and the boutique studio she co-owned closed after months of unpaid rent. In a final attempt, she wrote Michael a letter, long, tear-stained, apologetic. She confessed to the affair with Derek, admitted her arrogance, and begged for just one more chance. Michael read it once, then set it down on the porch beside him. He didn't tear it up, nor did he frame it as proof of victory. He simply let it sit there until the evening breeze carried it to the ground. Some apologies, he thought, come too late to matter. He understood now. Her words had never carried the weight of change. She wanted rescue, not redemption. Months passed, and Michael's new routines blossomed. He woke early, not to dread another day of invisible labor, but to savor mornings with coffee on Aaron's porch. He saved diligently, not for someone else's shopping sprees, but for the dream of opening his own construction business. With Claire's encouragement, he started sketching plans, something Lindsay would have dismissed as too small. His revenge wasn't about watching Lindsay crumble. It was about proving to himself that he could rise. By building a better life, he turned her betrayal into fuel. The final moment of clarity came one afternoon when Michael was loading materials into his truck at a hardware store. Across the lot, he saw Lindsay, hair pulled back, wearing a discount store blouse, carrying 2 bags of groceries. She froze when their eyes met. For a brief second, her lips parted as if she wanted to approach him. But Michael's calm expression stopped her. Not cruel, not mocking, just steady, untouchable. He gave a polite nod, then turned away, driving off without another word. And that was the true revenge. Not insults, not confrontation, but the undeniable truth that he no longer needed her to define his worth. That night, Michael sat outside again, sipping a cold drink under the quiet sky. Aaron joined him, clinking bottles. You ever think about what you'd say if she came crawling back for real? Aaron asked. Michael exhaled slowly. I already said it, when I walked out. My silence told her more than words ever could. She'll replay that moment for the rest of her life. Aaron nodded. And you? Michael smiled faintly. I'm free. That's enough. He leaned back, watching the stars. For the first time in years, his heart wasn't heavy. His revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about reclaiming peace, dignity, and the kind of life he deserved all along. And that, Michael knew, was the sweetest victory.